Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today's video is dealing with the Winnipeg general strike. We have a very special guest today. Mr. Breen has joined us.
Hello.
So following the war, the average worker is working in a place that has very poor conditions and very low wages. At this point in time also, it's illegal for them to create unions and try to make a better situation for the workers. This would have given them the chance to show strength in numbers and be able to fight for some of the rights they wanted.
But because they can't have unions, if I was a factory owner, I could mistreat you, give you bad conditions, not a lot of heat, darkness, not a lot of breaks, and you had to put up with it. Because if I'm only paying you $1, somebody out on the street is willing to work for 50 cents. Okay, so to make things worse, you get all these returning soldiers coming home from the war. Of course, they've made sacrifice to fight in the war. They're coming home and they expect to find their jobs waiting for them. Obviously, they're not. And then on top of that, government pensions aren't enough to support them. They need help.
So you would think all these guys who just spent time over there fighting for Canadian freedom would have the opportunity to work for an honest pay and to earn their wages, but there were just no jobs available.
Wait a minute. Is that hairy guy Karl Marx? And is that Lenin up there talking? And a Russian symbol? A hammer and a sickle? I don't even understand what this slide's all about.
Well, this slide's all about the Russian Revolution. In 1917, socialist ideas that had the workers taking over from the factory owners spread throughout Europe, and in places like Russia, this really took over. What you had was the battle between the Bolsheviks and the Mensheviks, the Bolsheviks being the majority group, and they're the ones who took the power because they represented more of the people and more of the workers. Really, really interesting stuff. When you look at Vladimir Lenin, who was the leader, he's the one who spreads this idea from Karl Marx, and people in Canada are very much worried that this is going to happen in Canada.
Alright, so with all the excessive amounts of workers and the poor conditions in the factories, the laborers decided to get together. They needed to organize. They created unions. Because basically as an individual, I don't have as many rights as I would if I'm a part of a group, a union. Unions protect the workers by giving them strength in numbers.
Well, this is a real problem for the factory owners and the business owners who are worried that they might have to spend more money to improve conditions and give more to their workers. They're also worried that this could cause another revolution, like we saw in Russia.
No more Russia.
Alright, fine, no more Russia. So when you have unions forming, they propose the idea of a general strike. With a regular strike, if a group of workers decide they're not going to work, they shut down that particular industry. With a general strike, my union would join Mr. Breen's union, and we would join whatever other unions we can to try to get as many people to stop working as possible. What this does is it shuts down an entire city so no business can be conducted.
Ah, Winnipeg. Quiet, peaceful, serene, on the banks of the Red River. I went to Winnipeg once. It's awesome. It was awesome then, too. Until the general strike. Okay, so as stated earlier, there are too many workers and not enough jobs. Of course, this creates a problem because there's so many people that want to work that the employers, they start to not worry about things like safety. Basically, I've got you chained to your machine and I treat you like crap. If you argue with me, I go over to the window, I hang my head out, and I call for someone else to take your job. This is not good.
So we talked about the idea of unions, the idea that we could get together and have strength in numbers. So if each profession has their own union, they can form together to create one big union and all work together. So if I'm working in a lumber mill and Mr. Breen is working as a carpenter, his union would join my union, and then we have even more power.
So you need one big union. You can't have a general strike without that. If one person leaves, it doesn't make as much sense as if everybody leaves.
You know what? You're not paying me enough for this video. I'm out of here.
But you can't go. If you go by yourself, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do this. But if we both leave, then this video is not going to get made. Okay, look at all these people. What are they doing? They're not at work. They're protesting all the poor conditions that we spoke about earlier. They're all there to express their opinion. However, look how many of them there are. If somebody gets a little bit agitated, mob mentality here, people, problems are going to arise.
So when people get together and things go a bit awry, things get unruly, and this is what happens. Streetcars get flipped over, fights get started, fires start raging. Basically, you have a riot and a mob scene. So as the local government, you really have two options here. Nobody's working, the town's been shut down, all these people are standing around the streets, potentially causing problems. So you can do one of two things. You can listen to them, try to hear what they're saying, come to some sort of solution together.
Or you can crack some skulls, like this bat here, the violent repression of this riot. Here comes the bat, in the form of the Northwest Mounted Police. You may know them as the RCMP, what they're known by today. The RCMP, or the Northwest Mounted Police, moved into the city of Winnipeg, and it got even more ugly.
So the general strike began on May 15th, 1919, and the people were trying to organize the strike to get their message out there. What they didn't expect was the reaction of the government would lead to Bloody Saturday. On June 21st of 1919, armed strikers basically met with the Northwest Mounted Police, and there was a violent clash between the two groups.
So what happened at the Winnipeg General Strike? Well, approximately 20 people were injured, 80 demonstrators were arrested, and one man was even killed. This was terrible, making Winnipeg's version of a general strike the worst of all the general strikes in Canada. Eventually it got broken up, the workers went back to work. But what really happened here? Did the labor movement accomplish anything? Think about it. What happened?